A horse deemed untamable, a prince determined to prove his worth. The story of Alexander and Bucephalus is more than a charming anecdote. It's a vivid illustration of the young prince's courage, insight, and the burgeoning bond between a future king and his legendary steed. This single event offered an early glimpse of the extraordinary character who would one day conquer empires. In the unfolding narrative of Alexander's youth, amidst the political machinations of Philip's court and the pervasive martial culture of Macedon, certain episodes stand out, offering precious insights into the developing character of the future conqueror. None is perhaps more famous or revealing than the story of how he tamed the magnificent black stallion, Bucephalus, around 346 BCE, when Alexander was merely 10, or perhaps 12, years old. This event, chronicled most notably by Plutarch, is not just a tale of a boy. Plutarch tells us he exclaimed, "What an excellent horse do they lose for want of address and boldness to manage him." He had noticed something the seasoned horsemen had missed. Bucephalus seemed agitated by his own shadow, which danced before him as he moved. Lightly, and with a sureness that belied his age, he leapt onto Bucephalus's back. Instead of immediately trying to master the horse with force, he let Bucephalus have his head for a moment, allowing him to gallop and expend his nervous energy. Then, gradually, Alexander asserted control, not through brutality, but through a firm yet gentle hand on the reins, guiding the magnificent stallion with skill and understanding. It showed Philip, and perhaps Alexander himself, that this was no ordinary prince. Alexander's insight into Bucephalus's fear of his own shadow was a flash of intuition that spoke volumes. It foreshadowed his later ability to understand the motivations and fears of his human adversaries and allies alike. His gentle yet firm handling of the horse mirrored the way he would often inspire loyalty and obedience in his soldiers, not always through fear, but through shared endeavor and mutual respect, though he was certainly capable of inspiring fear when needed. His ability to see what others missed, to approach a problem from a different perspective, like the heroes of Greek myth who often had special relationships with divine or exceptional animals, Alexander now had his Bucephalus. This magnificent black stallion would become an integral part of his legend, carrying him towards his destiny, a destiny that Philip, in that moment of paternal pride, perhaps glimpsed for the first time with true clarity. A destiny that would indeed require a kingdom far larger than Macedon. The taming of Bucephalus was an early triumph, a personal victory that resonated deeply, marking a key step on Alexander's path from prince to legend. And to succeed where experienced men failed were all hallmarks of his later military and political genius. It highlighted his phronesis, practical wisdom, and his thumos, spiritedness or courage. He rode Bucephalus around the field, to the astonishment of Philip and his court, who had watched first with skepticism, then with growing amazement, and finally with rapturous applause. With quiet confidence, Alexander took the horse's bridle and gently turned him to face the sun, so that his shadow fell behind him. He embraced his son and, according to Plutarch, declared, "O my son, look thee out, a kingdom equal to and worthy of thyself from Macedonia is too little for thee." This prophetic statement, whether uttered exactly as recorded or embellished by time, perfectly captured the significance of the moment. Alexander had not just tamed a horse, he had demonstrated qualities essential for a great leader. Astute observation, understanding of psychology, even animal psychology, courage in the face of challenge, patience, and the ability to achieve through intelligence what others could not achieve through force alone. Speaking soothingly and stroking the horse, he calmed Bucephalus, who had perhaps been frightened by the unfamiliar movements of his own shadow and the commotion of the handlers. Philip, initially annoyed by his son's apparent youthful arrogance in front of his experienced cavalrymen, rebuked him. But Alexander persisted, insisting he could ride the horse better than anyone else. This led to a wager. Alexander declared that, if he failed, he would pay the full price of the horse himself. Bucephalus became Alexander's personal warhorse, carrying him through countless battles across Greece and Asia. The horse was renowned for his loyalty and courage, and Alexander, in turn, showed great affection and care for him, rarely allowing anyone else to ride him. Bucephalus was more than just a mount, he was a companion, a symbol of Alexander's own indomitable spirit. The image of Alexander on Bucephalus became iconic, a representation of youthful daring and triumphant leadership. The court, amused by the boy's audacity, laughed, and a horse. It's a powerful symbol of Alexander's unique qualities, his keen observation, his courage, his empathy, and his almost preternatural ability to command. The setting was likely a field near Pella, where Philip II was presented with a remarkable horse offered for sale by a Thessalian horse breeder named Philoniacus. The price was exceptionally high, 13 talents, a fortune at the time, enough to pay a skilled worker for many decades. The horse was a splendid creature, large, powerfully built, with a striking black coat and a distinctive white star on his forehead. His name, Bucephalus, meaning ox head, likely referred to this marking, or perhaps the shape of his head, or even a brand. But for all his beauty and strength, Bucephalus was deemed unmanageable. He was wild, vicious, and resisted all attempts to mount him, rearing and biting, throwing off any rider who dared try. Philip, surrounded by his courtiers and companions, watched as his best horsemen tried and failed, one after another, to control the spirited animal. The king, known for his appreciation of fine horses, a cornerstone of Macedonian military power, grew frustrated and was on the point of dismissing the horse as hopelessly wild and untamable, a waste of time and money. The general consensus was that the animal was simply too savage. It was at this moment that young Alexander, who had been observing the proceedings intently, spoke up. What happened next became legendary. Alexander, unlike the others who had approached Bucephalus with force and apprehension, walked calmly towards the stallion. Once the horse was settled, Alexander made his move. When Alexander dismounted, Philip, overwhelmed with pride and emotion, is said to have wept. The bond formed that day between Alexander and Bucephalus was to last a lifetime. The story of Bucephalus, occurring when Alexander was still a boy, serves as a crucial marker in his early development. This was not just about conquering an animal's fear, it was about understanding it. The episode also reinforced the heroic narrative that was already beginning to form around Alexander, partly through his mother Olympias's influence. See you soon with our next episode of Alexander the Aristotle's Pupil. Until then, take good care of yourself and environment around you, and make it a great day.